Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you guys my August wrap-up. Now this month I actually read a lot of books because I've discussed this in my previous videos. I actually quit my job, so I wasn't really doing anything for the month of August, although I did kind of got busy a little bit towards the beginning. But in any case, I think this is the month where I read the most because, I have a lot more free time. And I actually read a lot of the books that I had from my library because they started opening up, I think, late July. So yeah, without further ado, we have a lot of books to discuss and we know that I talk a lot. Let's get started, shall we? Alright, so the first book that I finished is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. I rated this a 4 out of 5 stars. This was a lot of fun. Now, I have a complicated relationship with Cassandra Clare's Mortal Instruments series, and this is her newest book in her new series in the Shadowhunter world called The Last Hours. And so here we're following our character Cordelia, who is, I believe she's half Persian, not 100% Persian. I think she is half Persian. I'm not 100% sure, but she has red hair, and I really enjoyed this book. Now in the beginning I found it was a little confusing because I didn't read the novellas that are related to this because of the shadow market, and we're following pretty much gems in every installation, but a lot of the novellas are following a lot of the characters that we are following in the Chain of Gold, and I was very confused. I had to search online for like the family tree for me to like determine who's who, because we're introduced to a lot of different characters. Well, I was introduced to a whole lot of different characters. I didn't know who was related to whom, and looking back, like who is related to Emma, who's related to Julian, etc., etc. I didn't know, so I had to like download a whole family tree just for me to kind of get into it. But as I read the book more, obviously I was able to determine and distinguish each character a little bit more, especially our main group of friends, which consists of Julian, Matthew, Christian, and Thomas. And then we also have Cordelia and her brother Alistair and Lucia. And the one thing that I really enjoyed about Cassandra Clare's books that is consistent is that she gets you to like really care for the characters, and that's one of the things that I really love. Again, and in the beginning her world was very new, and there's definitely a lot of things to explore, and that's what I really enjoy about her keeping on writing about the Shadowhunter world, because there's a lot to discover and to learn, and because if it's really a well realized story, you can go back years and keep everything connected. And that's one of the things I really like. Everything is connected. That's one of the things I really love about Cassandra Clare's writings and her books as she continues to write about the series. And so at the beginning I was very skeptical, like, am I gonna love this? Is it gonna be this book that's going to make me not want to read the rest of her series or rest of her books in the Shadowhunter world? No, I actually am very excited on getting on to the next books because I'm very much invested in her characters now, and I can't believe how much suffering they have to go through. Like, she's really good at making people suffer and have a lot of angst that actually makes sense. That this is the first book, so although we get a lot of action and a lot of resolution as well, but we also get introduced tiny little tidbits of things that we know we're gonna explore as the books go by. So even though it is a very long book, it was easy to fly through after I got used to all the characters and I started actually getting to distinguish them. So I really enjoyed Chain of Gold and definitely will enjoy reading more in the series. I cannot wait. Alright, so the next book that I read is Such a Fun Age by Reid, and I was planning on reading this for the reading rush, but I learned about this about midway through the reading rush, so I was like, I don't know, I guess I already had like a lineup of books that I wanted to read. And then the whole thing, if you're aware of what happened during the reading rush, you know what had happened. And so I read this after that, and I rated this a 4 stars. In the beginning, I didn't really feel very connected to her character. I feel like there was a lot that we weren't really getting from her narrative, and I was actually a lot more interested to Alex, her boss. We are following Amira, who gets confronted one night while she was babysitting this white woman's daughter in the grocery store that you usually go to, and they think that she kidnapped the kid, and somebody takes a video of it, and we follow both Alex, her boss, and Amira, who struggles with, finding a job, but also finding what she wants to do with her life. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about this because they didn't really like the ending. I think that was what the reason was, but I actually really liked the ending because she didn't get a, like, how do you say it, a revenge ending kind of thing where she became so successful and so popular and so rich. We don't need that. We just need her to figure out what she wants to do for the rest of her life. Yes, she went through a lot of crap. That's definitely true. But that doesn't mean that she needed an ending that was so extravagant and big to make up for what she went through. That's not realistic. And so I really enjoyed how the book ended. I don't think it's a spoiler because mainly we're following her as she discovers, how she gets treated in, like, the microaggressions that she experiences, whether she knows it or not, but also the microaggressions that we can have as people who are not Black that we may or may not be aware of. And that was a really good exploration of it, I think, especially in terms of Alex's perspective. Like, she's not one of those, like, outward racist people, but she does do some stuff that are racist, whether whether we're aware of it or not, but we are being made aware through this book because it shows that it's not beneficial to anyone but that person who's trying to be an ally. And so yeah, it introduces a lot of things that we still need to learn about in, like, a very subtle ways, which I understood. But definitely Alex has, tendencies to being racist, but also it introduces us different facets of how you can be, an ally, but also not an ally in terms of, how you act and how you treat other people and your views and opinions and stuff like that. And it was a very interesting educational read in terms of, how other people act that are absolutely not beneficial to people of color or Black people. So I rated it 4 stars. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And again, Emira is not a perfect character. She's not. And she's not portrayed as that, which I actually enjoy. So yeah, I really like her decisions by the end. But again, her ending that I mentioned, she didn't get a very big ending. But again, I don't think that's necessary for her story or any other story. If that's how the ending's gonna go, great. But I don't think it's necessary for people who are suffering to have a big revenge type ending where she's so successful and she's showing these people that, she had all this suffering, blah, blah, blah. Because realistically, that doesn't really happen to other people. So a lot of people. The next book that I finished is Son of Bones by V. Schwab, and this is the second book in the Cassidy Blake series. In this series, we're following Cassidy, who after almost dying, she gets the ability to see ghosts. And we follow her as she discovers what it means for her to be seeing ghosts and what she can do for ghosts. Like, why is she seeing ghosts, And here in the second book, we have her and her ghost best friend, Jacob, go to Paris and go down in the catacombs and, go on their ghostly adventure. I really enjoyed this. I rated this a 4 stars. It took me a while to read this, I think because I kind of forgot about it. But also, I wanted to read this, but I also kind of forgot about it. In a way, I wasn't really considering reading it because I wanted to read it around, like, fall time where it's, like, spooky season and stuff, but I really enjoyed this. And I really enjoyed the exploration more of her abilities and what she can do, but also what it means for Jacob and for her, as Jacob is a ghost and Cassidy can see ghosts and she has this purpose. I don't want to spoil it, but I really enjoyed the book. Definitely will be reading the next in the installation, and I definitely want to see where their friendship is gonna go, like what it means for them to be friends in terms of who they are and what they are and what they can do, Okay, so the next book that I read is Slay by Brittney Morris. I rated this a 3 stars. I know a lot of people were very much hyping the book, and I understand why. Here we're following 17-year-old Kira Johnson. She makes this online game, that is only for Black kids, Black people. So only those who have the password and that person gives the password to another person can enter the game. And in this game, her idea is that it's a safe place for Black people to, keep playing and not be targeted because they're Black, and but also to celebrate Black culture. So one day, one kid gets murdered in real life because of a dispute in the Slay world. The name of the game is Slay, and that puts her, the creator, in the spotlight because she's now labeled as discriminative towards white and racist towards white. We follow her as she tries to, face this problem that she has now, where she made this game because she wanted to have a safe space for her to play, and now people know about it and are being negative about it and attacking her, attacking the game, attacking the players. And I enjoyed the descriptions of the game, it seems like it's very celebratory of the Black culture, which I really enjoyed, and just the descriptions of the games and stuff. I'm not a gamer myself, so even I really enjoyed, hearing about the game and hearing how people play it. I didn't enjoy her character very much. For someone who's a leader in terms of, this game and, the purpose of this game, in real life, she's very meek and passive, and I absolutely did not love her, not even liked her relationship with her boyfriend, because her boyfriend was saying stuff to her and her friends that are just I didn't like it at all. Like, it was wrong. She was saying that there was this one time she wasn't feeling good because, of all the things that was happening, and she was feeling sick, and then her boyfriend goes, "You better not be pregnant." And I'm like, what? That's the first thing you say to your girlfriend who's not feeling good? You're not even gonna ask, what's going on? Why are you feeling this way? How can I help? First thing you say is, "You better not be pregnant." Who does that? Like, who? And he's all about, uplifting, but also degrading women. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you what? There was just a lot of things that he said throughout the book that I did not like. And the main character, she just accepts. I'm like, no, that's a problem. And her sister was telling her that, he's problematic. Why are you dating him? And I was like, yes, tell her, shake her. Why is she still with this guy, with this dude? So yeah, that's one thing that I really hated. And just how she just lets her boyfriend mainly be abusive to her, which her friends were already telling her that it was wrong. But mainly her sister was telling her that, he's not acting, like an actual person. But she just doesn't want to listen because she keeps forgiving Mal. And I'm just like, ooh. And I understand where it's coming from, because that happens in real life. But also, just, girl, you don't need all of that. All of the things that have been happening to you that nobody knows. On top of this, you don't need that crap. I wanted to, shake her. I loved her friendships, though. I love the friendships in this story. But also, didn't see the twist coming in the end. Sort of. When it started happening, I was like, oh, that's when I realized who it was. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but yeah, it was 3 stars for me. It definitely introduced us to, again, the complexity of being racist and anti-racist, but also uplifting and being an ally. And it's very complex, and there's a lot of things that we can learn, but one thing that we have to be is to be forgiving and understanding to other people, and that they might be in different levels of their education. They might be aware of, they're not racist in, the big stuff, but they might be racist in the small stuff, and they might not be aware of it because they don't know. So we have to be kind about them and, educate them in the kindest way you can, because a lot of times we are, unaware of it because that's how we grew up. And that's messed up because that shouldn't be how we grew up, but that's the reality of it. A lot of people grew up thinking that way, and so sometimes it's hard to wrap, especially, it's hard to wrap your head around some things that you grew up with. But then, when we just have to be educated. So there's a lot of things that we still need to learn, but we still need to be acting towards it as much as we can, as best as we can. And so yeah, I mean, personally, I still am. Still a lot of things that I need to learn about, especially since I didn't grow up here. And I don't know truly the extent of the racism that's running in our country. And so yeah, that's it for Slay. Again, I just didn't enjoy how her character was very much a pushover towards other people, especially since her main goal for the game is to uplift, show the world that they're strong and they're powerful, and it was very opposite and just didn't really connect with me. How is she so different in the game? She I didn't see enough of what she wants to, the message of her game to her as a person. So yeah. Okay, the next book that I read is The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins. Now this is a short story. I read it in one sitting, and at first when I finished reading it, I rated it a 4.55 stars. I was very confused. I was like, what did I just read? And literally I read it in one sitting in under 30-45 minutes because it's that short. It's only 160 pages. So yeah, definitely you can read it in 30 minutes. And so I read it, I watched a few videos, and that's when I fully started understanding what it was and what it meant to do, because obviously there was let me tell you what it's about. Okay, so here we're following the author's experience as she undergoes this isolation or rest cure that is given to her by her physician/husband after she experiences a nervous disorder after she gives birth to their child, and she's given this rest cure, which means that they move into this like countryside. She stays in this room for all day, every day, for I think a month. I think it was a month or something. And we see her as she deteriorates throughout this cure that she has. And she has this wallpaper in this room that's kind of destroyed already, and it's like parts of it were coming off, and it has this weird pattern that she follows, and she gets obsessed about this yellow wallpaper. She hated it in the beginning, but then she started getting obsessed with it. She's not allowed to write, to paint. She's not allowed to do anything. Her cure is to rest, which is not to do anything at all, just lay down and be in this room and like stare at the wall. So literally that's the only thing that she can do. And so she started seeing this woman who she thinks is trying to get out of the wallpaper, and she thinks that her husband and the caretaker that they also had with them can also see it, but they're hiding it from her or pretending that they don't see it, etc., etc. And so we see her deteriorate as she undergoes this rest cure. And this is actually based heavily, I think, on the author's personal experience after I think she is experiencing, I think, what we would call now as postpartum disorder after giving birth to a child. And it made waves in the mental health world, where it showed people that this rescuer is not a cure. This is actually making it worse for people who are struggling, and it's not. And so I think a lot of people, and it's a very important read. Even now, I feel like, for other people to fully understand that mental health is real. It is very important. It is as important as your physical health. Physical health, we get annual checkups for it, semi-annual checkups for it. Mental health, have we ever had that? I don't think so. And we need it. It's as important as your physical health. You can be healthy physically, but mentally, there might be something in there that you're not aware of. Because sometimes physically, you're not even aware that you're suffering from something. But because we go through this physical checkups, you gotta learn about it. Oh, we learned that we're at risk for this. We learned that we have these levels of this levels that make us more at risk for this something. And so it's very important for us to also go to psychiatrists and psychologists for them to evaluate our mental health, because it's important. All right. So the next book that I read is an unexpected favorite of mine. This is suggested reading by Connis. I forgot where I heard about this, or what made me borrow this from the library. This is actually my own copy. As you can see, I tabbed it. This is the first book that I tabbed in forever, I think. I've only ever tabbed like one or two other books. And when I started reading this, I actually first tabbed the library copy, which I didn't, destroy it or anything, but I was starting to tap it. I was like, no, wait. So I ordered this, and thankfully it arrived like a day or two after. So I didn't have to wait long for it to arrive. And as you can see, I enjoyed it a lot. We are following our main character, Clare Evans. She is a bookworm. She loves reading. She's into reading a lot. And one day, during her senior year, she discovers that their new principal has a list of banned books. And a lot of the books that are banned are books that are very much impactful to Clara's life. And so she decides to start this underground library, the Unlib, where she pretty much makes other people read these books. She covers the banned books with like white paper and asks them to write a quote or what they got from the book that they loved. And so she starts this underground library, and we follow her as she discovers more about the books that she loves, but also the reason why people would ban books, because this banning books isn't new. It has been happening for years, and it's happening in different countries in different ways. Like, I think Harry Potter was banned in China at some point, somewhere. I think it was banned somewhere, and I think up until now it's still banned there, something like that. So we follow her as she starts to discover more about books and the impact of books and why people would start banning books, but also her questioning her purpose. Like, why is she doing that? But also questioning her love for books. Should she be loving books? We're following her through that journey. I followed her through that journey, and I felt the same thing that she felt. By the middle ending, I was like started to questioning her and myself, and I'm like, oh no. There was a lot of doubt that she was going through that I also went through. But I absolutely love this. I loved her love for books because it's very similar to mine, and I feel like it's very similar to a lot of people. Like, literally in the first chapter, she's reading a book that she's been waiting to read from her favorite author. And she has this tradition of orange highlighters while she reads. So she's highlighting and then she's also writing. I think I don't know if it's on her book or if we're just reading her perspective as she reads about them, but like her review as she goes through, and like the ups and downs that she reads was exactly like how we are, like up and downs when we read. And every chapter has quotes from different books, and I just really love this book because I resonated so much with Clara, her love for books and her want to fight for the books that she loves. It was in there with her. And then when she started doubting herself, I was in there with her too. I was doubting myself too. I was like, oh, no. And the ending, also the relationships, the friendships that we get, but also the people that she gets to know. It's like, it's amazing. Like, she learns more about other people too, because obviously when you're reading a book, when you're someone like her who's, you know, always just reading books and not really, you know, socializing with other people, you might get desensitized to what other people are, you know, experiencing, or, you know, you judge them immediately for the choices that they do, not really considering what they might be going through, because, you know, you're too caught up in your world of reading. And although yes, readers are more empathetic than non-readers, there's still that hazard of, you know, only caring about the characters that you read about and not really caring about other people, where you look at people and you judge them immediately for their stuff. And Clara goes through that in here, and I love her journey because I just totally relate to her a lot. Again, I also really love the friendship too, and the friendships that she discovers and she makes, and I really like it. Also, the cover of this book, so fun. And the end pages, is this what you call it? Look at that. So pretty. So again, this is a pretty fast read for me, and I suggest everybody to read it. I think it's under 400 pages. It's 360, 70 pages, the actual story, so please read it. It's one of my top favorite books of all time now. So I have it here. This is my shelf of top favorite books of all time, right here behind me. The next book that I read is Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. This was actually pretty popular in BookTube, I think. I definitely remember Jessie the reader talking about this. So here we are following Lee, who her mother passes away from suicide, and we're following her as she travels to Taiwan to finally meet her grandparents on her mother's side, and to learn about her mother as she grew up, but also the family that she had. And, you know, her mother as she travels, as she moves from Taiwan to the US to be with her father, and why she was estranged from her parents and therefore Lee to her grandparents. So it's rated as a 4 stars. And the one thing that I really enjoyed about this book is the exploration of grief and how it shows in different ways to other people. And we're also following Lee, who actually believes that her mother turned into this red bird that is telling her to go somewhere and to be somewhere to meet her grandparents. So she does. And there are definitely elements of magic in here, obviously. But the ending kind of, I don't know. The ending, when I finally see, you know, what happened, it was hard to kind of wrap my head around, because you kind of question everything that's been happening throughout the book when that twist happened. So up until now, I'm still like confused with, you know, the events. Maybe I don't fully understand the symbolism of the events fully, and I think that's the reason why. But yeah, that just made me so confused. So yeah, 4 stars. Okay, the next book that I finished is Imagine Me by Tahereh Mafi. I rated it as 3 stars. I was very excited to read this, and I liked it. It was good. But looking back now, I think definitely The Shatter Me didn't need the next 3 books that happened. Obviously, I enjoyed it because I enjoyed Tahereh Mafi's writing. That never has changed. But I don't know. I felt like there was something missing. There wasn't really a big sense of urgency or a big sense of me wanting to see where this series will go. But I do want to see where this series will go, only because I want to see how the characters are. Like Kenji, I think we all collectively love him. So well, you know, I want an update. Kind of. But also Juliet, I also want to know what she's going through. But I felt like the next 3 books in the series took so long to get published that I felt like a lot of us already finished the story in our head. It was an open-ended ending, obviously, but I feel like this would have been a lot better of a sequel if it was released, you know, right after the Shatter Me trilogy, and it was made more into like a whole series of 6 books instead of trilogy. And then, oh no, it's not a trilogy anymore. we have three more books coming, another trilogy. I mean, I still loved it. I feel like the whole events in the 3 books could have easily just have happened still, but it just came too long. Like, we already accepted the ending that was open-ended, but we know that they're probably gonna make the world better ish, you know, as a dystopian. But the new twist that we were introduced in here, although I could definitely obviously see it happen, it just came in such a late time that we didn't really need it, you know. We could have just gotten like novellas of like the afters and, you know, Kenji maybe meeting someone, Juliet and Warner getting married. Could have gotten those in novellas and not gotten the whole conflict in the next three books in this series. So as much as I wanted to love it, I mean, obviously I still love Tahereh Mafi's writing and the characters, I still absolutely love them, but it just came at such a late time that we just didn't. Alright, so after that I read It Goes to Shadow Market. I rated it as 4 stars. This is a collection of the different short stories that Cassandra wrote with different authors for each different series, but we are following Jem throughout this. It spans from early 1900s to the current time. So Jem throughout those times, following him, plus other characters that he meets. Definitely my favorite here is the story with Alec going to Buenos Aires, and that made me cry. That made me very emotional. But also what happened to Matthew, that was so freaking messed up. I definitely wished I read this before reading Chain of Gold, because definitely I would have, you know, remembered characters a lot easier if, you know, I read this before that. But we're here. We're done with it. I really enjoyed this. 4 stars. So definitely, again, I will continue Chain of Gold. Alright, next book that I'm finished is A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. I heard about this from someone, I cannot remember who, but they were reading about it. I was like, huh, this sounds so interesting. And I love like secret royalty stories. I don't know, they're fun. It's like Princess Diaries. And I love Princess Diaries, so I really enjoyed reading about secret royalty stuff books, or kind of book. But okay, I really like the main character. I fully understand where she was coming from as someone who gets abandoned and orphaned. So we're following here Naledi Smith, who was orphaned at a very young age, and she's been going in and out of different, you know, families, and so she has a lot of trust issues, and she has a lot of stuff that she's going through, and she's also a grad school student with multiple jobs, and she's trying to, you know, graduate and, you know, be one of the, just achieve her dreams of being one of the few Black women that are very essential in the scientific community. And she's very good at it. She's an epidemiologist, or, you know, she's an epidemiologist, and she keeps getting these emails one day where she's being contacted by what country was it? Thesolo. Sorry, it was a little confusing. Thesolo is the name of the country, and Thabiso is the name of the main character. So Thesolo, telling her that she's engaged to their crown prince, Prince Thabiso, and she keeps getting these emails telling her, you know, tell us where you are, and, you know, we'll bring you to the country of Thesolo, and she obviously thinks it's spam, like, whatever. I thought at the beginning she finds it funny, but eventually it was just like annoying, especially with, you know, everything that's been happening in her personal life. She didn't need all this spam that she keeps getting. And so one day, this Prince Thabiso goes up to her and tries to meet her, but she mistakes him as one of the as the person that they were waiting for to help her with the waitressing, and so she makes him, you know, wait on people too. And yeah, that's kind of where it started. But also he becomes her temporary new neighbor, which was a very stalkerish move, honestly. And when it first started happening, I was like, that's stalkerish, that's just wrong. I don't know about this, like, I don't know. But at least his assistant, the Thabiso's assistant, keeps telling him that that's stalkerish. And he's like, yeah, that can be super stalkerish. And they develop a relationship. And then obviously when she finds out, they were also already in too deep. And then, you know, another twist happens, etc. I really enjoyed the twist that happens and her exploration of that, and our exploration of that. And I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was fine. It was 3 stars. You know, I didn't really get much from it. Yeah. It was just, you know, surface level-ish. You know, I like the characters, but I didn't love them. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think I will continue with this series. Kind of not what I feel like reading right now. So the next book that I finished was actually sent to me by the publisher, or like the publicist for this author, and this is Thomas Wildus and the Wizard of Samaria, the book 2 in the Elandrian Chronicles by Bergen. This was sent to me months ago, and I just didn't have a lot of time to read this, because around that time, you know, I was borrowing books from the library and I was reading them reading them initially, not really the books that I have, which was very bad. And then it stopped, and then I just didn't feel like reading middle grade fantasy around that time, and I just kind of sort of forget about it. But I can't believe I put this off for so long. I really enjoyed this book. Okay, so the first book we are following Thomas Wildus, who discovers this Book of Sorrows. This is the first book, also was sent to me, and he discovers this Book of Sorrows, and it opens up the world to magic. And he discovers that his father is related to this whole thing. His father went missing when he was very young, and the last thing that his father said to him is magic is real. So he's always had that belief that magic is real. But obviously, as he grew up, he kind of stopped believing in it. But he gets embroiled in this discovery of magic, and it's an adventure, and I absolutely enjoyed this. A lot of the world building was already done in the first book, and in the first book I actually said I wanted more of the world, and I wanted more of the explanation of the magic, etc., etc. But now I kind of understand that you don't really need like specific explanations of the world. Here, the magic world is now expanding, and we're learning more about that and its complications and how much more we can learn from this world, and I really truly enjoyed it. It was action-packed. Right from the beginning, we're already getting action, and all throughout the book, we're getting action. It was a lot of fun. It was so much fun to follow them. His friends, I absolutely love the friendship, obviously, right from the first book still. His friendship with Enrique, and then his relationship with his mother, how just very different it is from, some relationship, like the usual relationships now. He's very open to saying, I love you and being affectionate, and they just have a very open relationship in that they're always talking and communicating and expressing, what they feel. Obviously, there is still going to be arguing and fighting. It's their parent, they're, parent and son, but they go through that and they talk, and I really love the communication between them. But again, the friendship, and especially here in the second book, we are introduced to a lot of different characters that Thomas meets and develop these really deep relationships with. Even though it was quick, it didn't feel like it was forced. So I really find those relationships super fun. It's like a found family aspect, which I love in books, especially if it's done so well and you just love all the characters and you don't want any of the characters to get hurt. So I'm definitely excited to read the next books in the series. Hopefully I get sent the next books too, even though I reviewed the second book very late. Like, it was published May. It's August now. It's been 3 months. Like, what am I doing? Anyway, the next book that I finished is The Kingdom of Black by Maria Lu. I have the Owl Crate edition. I have a few tabs in here, and I rated this a 4 stars. 4.5 stars, I think. And yeah, 4.5 stars. So here, this is actually very popular here in book 2 as well. We are following the sister of Mozart as she grows up, and we follow her as a musician, an aspiring musician, but also her struggles as a woman. Now here, we're following them as they grow up, and they have this secret magical world called the Kingdom of Black. And so one day, a creature from this magical world that they made, that him and Mozart made, comes to them for help and tells them that he was the prince of this kingdom and there was a witch, etc., etc. He needs their help, but he's also going to help, especially Nannerl, our main character, to achieve her dreams of not being forgotten, especially because she knew that by the time that she's of marriageable age, she's going to have to stop playing the keyboard, the piano, because now she needs to marry and make babies, etc., because that's how it is in the, I think this is 1700s, 1800s? Did I forget that already? Now in the beginning, I was like, there was one paragraph that she keeps saying over and over about composing. I think in the first 60 pages she just kept saying it. I was like, stop saying it, we get it. And it's like she keeps saying it in the same kind of manner, kind of just paraphrased. She's saying like the world of composing is for Herr Handel and Herr Bach. Okay, I get it. You don't have to say it every 20 pages. I understand. This is what you're going through. But then I kind of got over that because I understood now where she was coming from. She's going through all this, like, she's being told from a young age that she cannot compose. By the time she gets to marriageable age, she will have to marry. Even though she's a child prodigy, it doesn't work like that. So I understand, because that's been drilled to her, and she's telling, like, this is her story, and so that's what's going on in her head. So I kind of got over that. I loved her relationship with Mozart, with Wolfgang, because they have a really good sibling relationship, and you can definitely tell that Wolfgang looked up to Nannerl and really saw her as her inspiration, as his inspiration, as his role model, Like, she's on her own getting trained by her father, by their father, to play the piano. And that's why he wanted to play the piano too, because he sees his sister doing it, but then he proves to be like a true, like a real intense, massive child prodigy. He has perfect hearing, like the perfect tune. I don't remember if that's what it's called, where you can, determine the different notes perfectly, and he hears something and he can play it immediately, even though he has like tiny fingers. He was only like 5, and then they tour all across Europe to play for royalties and nobles alike. And we follow her in her journey to discovering who she is and what she really wants and who won't. And I just enjoyed following her, because at the beginning I didn't really like her because she kept repeating this. I'm like, okay, I get it, but I kind of got over that, because okay, I understand where she's coming from. And you can definitely see that there's a lot of pressure on her. She's very perfectionistic. She hates, appearing anything less than perfect, because that's what she's been drilled to be. And it was so sad to see that, because she's absolutely talented, but it feels like the world is against her, because even though she is very talented, she's still a woman and she's seen as less. She's not allowed to compose. And just how she's treated by her father, but also how she gets over that, and how she eventually discovers that her brother is not her enemy. Definitely they have a really good sibling relationship, but obviously with the competition between them, especially in her mind, it tarnishes the relationship. And I feel for her so much, because I understand where she's coming from ish. So not bad. I really enjoyed this. One of my favorite books too. Okay. Alright, the last one that we're gonna be talking about. I've been filming now for an hour. I'm tired of talking. One to Watch by Stayman-London. Now, I wasn't sure going into this that I was gonna like it, because a lot of people are saying that if you like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, you will love. I've never watched any of those shows. This stuff is so amazing to me, but I never watched any of those shows, so I was going into this very carefully. We are following Bea Schumacher, who's a very famous plus-sized influencer and slash fashion blogger. And one day she watches the premiere of Main Squeeze, which is like the Bachelorette of this world, and she pretty much criticizes it, saying it's not very diverse. All the girls look the same, all the men look the same, they're all white. Like, you're given diversity once and they were eliminated immediately. That doesn't count, etc. And she was drunk with her best friend while watching it, but then it goes viral, and that season of the Main Squeeze is actually one of their lowest. And then the new producer comes in and asks her to be the next Main Squeeze, and at first she was like, why me? But also no. But then she agrees and says, all right, but I'm not gonna fall in love. Also, I need a diverse cast. No, when it first started, I was like, this is not a diverse cast. I was with her, because this is not a very diverse cast. Yeah. And she has this relationship with a friend of hers that she met in college, that she's liked for the longest time. It is not a spoiler, because it happens early on in the book. They met years after, and he was already engaged, and they had sex. But then he disappears the next day and stops replying to any of her calls or emails asking him to talk. Literally the only reason she was just asking him to talk, and he stops calling her, and I just hated that so much. Anyway, I think that happened before she watched the Main Squeeze part. Yeah, I think that's it. And then we follow her as she journeys through love and discovers love and relationship, literally. And I cried so much. I didn't expect to love this. I rated it as 4.5 stars, 4.75 stars. I didn't expect to love it. I have a few tabs. A lot of those tabs are pink, because I love these parts. Like, I was crying with her. I was crying for her as she, gets treated so unfairly, but also her struggles with romance and relationships. There was one part where she says, hold on, let me find it. It was, I think, the thing that resonated with me the most. She was talking with her parents, and she says, what if I can't? What if there's something inside me that's just, I don't know, incapable? She's talking about incapable of love and romance. And I felt that so much. She has struggled so much with comments from other people telling her that she needs to lose weight, and the only way that she's gonna have a partner, and the only way she's gonna have romance is if she's going to lose weight. And I felt that, because that's how I felt growing up. I was never, how to say it? I gained a lot of weight when I was 11 and 12, and I think I was overweight around the time. But already I was getting comments from people, from my family, telling me that I need to lose weight, that I'm fat, I need to be thinner, that I need to watch what I'm eating, that I need to exercise. And a lot of my self-worth was dependent on my weight, and I thought, they're right. The only way that I will be seen as beautiful, as pretty, as worth it is if I lose weight and become thin. And I totally get what her idea, and although she's fighting for it, she's definitely body positive. Like, there are still ups and downs because she's also, you know, she's a public person. She gets comments from people telling her that, you know, to lose weight, and, you know, a variation of the things, because we are also, because she is, you know, an influencer, we see the comments on her posts and her tweets, and that definitely has affected her. And I felt for her because I kind of felt the same way too. Like, because I feel like, because, you know, we've been told that we're not worth anything because we're fat, and now it's just hard for us to trust and to love. And now we're questioning, what if I'm not, you know, capable of loving and being loved? What if that's the extent of what I can do and what I'm capable of? And it was I thought this was going to be such fun, dramatic read, and it was, but it was a lot more emotional than that, because she's going through a lot. She's not perfect. Obviously, she makes mistakes. I mean, she cheats with someone who's already engaged. That already tells you that she's not perfect, and no one is supposed to be. And she doesn't pretend to be. She just is who she is, and she's going through her own, you know, problems. And just, this is one book that I definitely want a lot of people to read, because I feel like although I'm not overweight anymore, there's still a lot of comments, and I grew up with those comments, and I felt like this was such a great glimpse of how that can make you feel and how that can affect you. And I rooted for her. Obviously, I want her to be happy, and she definitely gets a happy ending, which I'm so happy for. So again, 4.5 stars. It was a hard book to read though, but it was worth it. I really loved it. So it's the last book that I finished. I'm actually reading another romance book right now. That is for next month. Okay, so I've been filming now for an hour. This is the longest video I've ever had. I've filmed, I think. I don't know. I think I had a haul that was like this long too. But anyway, that is it for this video. I had a great reading month. I am tired. My throat hurts. I ramble a lot. Hopefully I made sense. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you read any of the books that I've read, please tell me what you guys thought about them. If you think of reading them, tell me what you're excited about. So yeah, that's it for right now. It's been an hour. I just stopped talking now. I will see you guys on my next video. Thank you so much for watching.